Trust doesn't just break, it shatters. And when it does, something inside you changes. You start to question not just the person who lied, but your own judgment. That's the real sting, because the most dangerous liars, they don't storm in waving red flags. They whisper, smile, and hide their games in questions that feel harmless until they're not. These aren't just casual comments, they're precision tools, crafted to pull you in, disarm your instincts and cloud your clarity. And if you're not paying close attention, by the time you realize what's happening, the damage is already done. In today's video, I'm breaking down 5 deceptively simple questions that manipulators use to build fake trust, while secretly twisting the narrative in their favor. These tactics show up in relationships, at work, sometimes even within your own family. But once you spot the pattern, you start to take back your power. And that's where Stoicism becomes your anchor, reminding you that calm is a superpower and clarity is your shield. We're not here to make you paranoid. We're here to make you strong, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So if you've ever felt like someone was playing a game you didn't agree to, stick with me. What you learn in the next few minutes could protect you from months or even years of silent damage. And hey, if this kind of insight speaks to you, if it lights something up inside you, there's just one small favor I ask. Hit that subscribe button. It's free, and it tells the algorithm that we're building something meaningful here. Something that cuts through the noise and helps real people stay rooted in truth. Let's get into it. 1. Don't you trust me? Sometimes the most dangerous words are the ones that sound the softest. They don't come at you with rage or accusation. No, they arrive wrapped in sweetness, often with a hurt look or a sigh that makes you feel like you're the one who crossed a line, like you broke something precious. But the truth is, those words, "Don't you trust me?" are often not about trust at all. They're about silencing you, about stopping your questions before they even begin. And the worst part? It works, because most of us don't want to seem harsh. We don't want to be the difficult one, especially with people we care about. You're sitting at the table, going over finances, or maybe just glancing at your shared bank account. Something jumps out, a strange charge you don't recognize. So you do the reasonable thing. You ask, "Hey, what's this about?" You're calm, curious, just looking for clarity. But instead of an answer, you get the emotional grenade. "Don't you trust me?" It lands right in your chest. And suddenly, the room shifts. You're not talking about the money anymore. Now you're talking about trust, your character, your loyalty. And if you're a peacekeeper by nature, someone who avoids conflict, you might just let it slide, tell yourself it's no big deal. But that's the trap. That's exactly how emotional manipulation works. Here's what the Stoics would tell you: don't let emotion override reason. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth, by which no one was ever truly harmed." This isn't about winning arguments. It's about seeing clearly, staying grounded. You're not asking to pick a fight. You're asking because your mind, your intuition, is telling you something's off. That's not disrespect, it's discernment. But we're not always taught to trust that inner voice. In fact, many of us were raised to keep the peace, to avoid rocking the boat. And manipulators know this. They use it, they twist it, they count on your silence, because your silence gives them control. That's why the phrase, "Don't you trust me?" isn't a question, it's a test. It's a way to flip the spotlight off their behavior and shine it on your supposed lack of faith. Psychologist Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." And that's what's happening here. The person avoiding your question isn't protecting trust. They're protecting their ego, their image, their control, because if they really had nothing to hide, they'd just answer. No drama, no guilt, just facts. Plato warned that we can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light. Light, in this context, is truth. It's clarity. And people who manipulate through guilt are often afraid of that light, because it exposes things they're not ready to admit, not just to you, but to themselves. So what do? You pause, you breathe, you check in with yourself, not from a place of panic, but with calm strength. Ask yourself, do I feel safe asking this question, or am I just afraid of upsetting them? That's the line between trust and fear, and trust built on fear isn't trust. It's silence, it's walking on eggshells, it's spiritual erosion. Socrates believed that the unexamined life is not worth living. That applies here too. If you're being asked to ignore your instincts for the sake of someone else's comfort, you're not living freely. You're living under quiet control. And that's not love. That's not respect. That's a performance, and it's costing you your peace. The solution isn't to fight fire with fire. You don't need to shout or accuse. You don't need to match manipulation with more manipulation. What you need is clarity. Calm, grounded clarity. You can say, if there's nothing to hide, then I'm sure you won't mind explaining. Or simply, trust should never mean I have to ignore what doesn't sit right with me. Aristotle once said, the mark of an educated mind is to entertain a thought without accepting it. Apply that here. It's okay to question someone you love. It's okay to entertain doubt without jumping to conclusions. That's not being paranoid, it's being wise. Because when you let guilt silence your voice, you hand over your power. You start living in someone else's version of the truth. And over time, that erodes not just your trust in them, but your trust in yourself. And self-trust, that's the foundation of everything. Without it, you're lost. With it, you're unshakable. So here's your call to action. The next time someone tries to shut you down with, "Don't you trust me?" Don't fold, don't flinch, stay calm. Say this, "If I trust you, I should still be allowed to ask questions." Say it with love, say it with clarity, but say it. Because you don't owe anyone blind faith. You owe yourself the peace that comes from knowing your questions are valid, your intuition is strong, and your voice, your real, grounded, honest voice, deserves to be heard. 2. Why would I lie? The logic trap. There's a certain kind of manipulation that doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't come at you aggressively, but instead wraps itself in what sounds like reason. That's what makes it so dangerous, because when someone looks you in the eye, calm and confident, and asks, "Why would I lie?" you're caught off guard. It's not an answer. It's not even a real question. It's a rhetorical trick, meant to make you doubt yourself instead of examining them. And if you're not careful, you'll walk away feeling guilty just for asking in the first place. Let's say your boss promised you a promotion months ago. You've done the work, you've stayed late, you've hit every target. So you finally bring it up, expecting a straightforward conversation. But instead of an update or a clear explanation, they chuckle and go, "Why would I lie to you?" It sounds harmless, maybe even sincere, but that one line, it shifts the entire conversation. Suddenly, you're not talking about promises or performance anymore. You're defending the fact that you even asked. That's how the fog begins to settle. And here's the thing. People don't always lie for reasons that make sense to you. That's one of the biggest traps we fall into. We think, well, I wouldn't lie in this situation, so they probably wouldn't either. But people lie for all kinds of reasons: fear, insecurity, ego. the need for control, or simply because they've gotten used to not being questioned. Carl Jung said it best: "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Many people can't handle the truth of who they are or what they've done, so they distort it. They lie not just to others, but to themselves. Aristotle once said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. That applies here too. A person who's used to twisting facts, dodging responsibility, and deflecting questions doesn't suddenly change just because you catch them in a corner. They've built habits around avoiding discomfort. And one of their favorite tools? Confident-sounding deflection like, "Why would I lie?" You have to understand, it's not your job to come up with their motive. It's not on you to dissect their psychology every time something feels off. Your responsibility is to listen to that gut instinct and ask calmly but clearly for clarity. Can you walk me through that? Can you show me where that's written? Can we review the agreement together? These are not aggressive questions. They are basic acts of accountability. And anyone who resists them, that says more about them than about you. The Stoics were clear on this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Never esteem anything as of advantage to you that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect." A Stoic understands that truth isn't determined by how comfortable or uncomfortable it makes someone. It's determined by reality, by integrity, by alignment between words and actions. And if someone's reaction to your simple question is defensiveness instead of openness, that's the first red flag. It's easy to get pulled into the social pressure of being nice, to not want to seem suspicious or confrontational, but don't confuse niceness with wisdom. Being wise means asking the hard questions, even if they're uncomfortable. Socrates built his entire philosophy on it. He believed that asking questions was the highest form of human freedom, the ability to seek truth rather than just accept appearances. "Why would I lie?" is a trap disguised as logic. It's a way to bypass your concern by appealing to emotion. It banks on your desire to trust. It banks on your discomfort with confrontation. And often, it works because we're not taught to see through that veneer. But once you do, you'll never hear that phrase the same way again. You'll spot it as the distraction it is. A smokescreen, a fog machine trying to blur the facts and your focus. Instead, blow through the fog with calm presence. Return to your center. Don't match energy with energy. Match it with clarity, with groundedness, with the kind of inner stillness Stoicism teaches. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." So when someone asks you, "Why would I lie?" don't take the bait. Don't defend your right to ask. Respond with reason, with patience, with quiet confidence. Here's a thought. Truthful people don't fear scrutiny. They welcome it. They don't get nervous when you ask for details. They don't try to flip the spotlight onto your intentions. Instead, they're transparent. And that's the real test. Not what they say, but how they handle being questioned. So, next time you hear that phrase, "Why would I lie?" don't rush to fill the silence. Let it sit. Let them squirm if they must. Then gently guide the conversation back to what matters. Ask for the facts. Ask for the timeline. Ask for the evidence. You're not being difficult. You're being discerning. And if they have nothing to hide, they'll respect you for it. If they do, well, now you know. Either way, you stayed true to yourself, and that's the kind of strength no one can fake. 3. Can you keep a secret? False intimacy alert. There's something seductive about being invited into a secret. It feels like you've been chosen, trusted, pulled behind the curtain while the rest of the world remains in the dark. And that can feel good, special even. But not all secrets are sacred. Some are weapons, some are traps. And more often than people realize, they're a tool manipulators use to bind your silence, not earn your trust. Let's break it down. Picture this. You're at work, having a normal day, when a colleague pulls you aside, lowers their voice, glances over their shoulder and says, "Can you keep a secret?" You nod, maybe out of curiosity, maybe out of politeness, and suddenly you're handed a bomb. They share something shady, unethical, or even dangerous. Not because you need to know, but because now you're involved, whether you like it or not. And just like that, you're emotionally trapped. If you speak up, you're betraying their trust. If you stay silent, you're complicit. It's a lose-lose scenario. But here's the truth most people don't say out loud. Not all secrets deserve to be kept, especially not the kind that twist your stomach or blur your moral compass. Carl Jung warned us, shame is a soul-eating emotion. And secrets that don't sit right, that make you feel guilty, anxious or torn, aren't just uncomfortable. They start to eat at your peace. You begin carrying a weight that isn't even yours. Why? Because someone else decided to dump their burden into your hands without your full consent. This is how subtle manipulation works. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It shows up disguised as intimacy, closeness, loyalty. But real loyalty doesn't require silence when your values are screaming for you to speak. Real loyalty doesn't come with emotional blackmail. Stoicism gives us an anchor here. Seneca once wrote, "No evil propensity of the human heart is so powerful that it may not be subdued by discipline." In moments like these, you need that discipline, not just to resist gossip, but to protect your own integrity. Because when someone tries to buy your silence with a secret, what they're really doing is testing how much of yourself you're willing to sacrifice for their comfort. And let's be honest, it's uncomfortable to say no in the moment. It's awkward to interrupt someone and say, "Actually, I'd rather not know." But that's where your true power lies, in setting the boundary before the damage is done. Before you get dragged into a situation that doesn't align with who you are. Plato believed that justice begins with harmony within the soul, when reason governs desire. So when your desire to be accepted clashes with your inner sense of right and wrong, reason must take the wheel. Ask yourself, am I keeping this secret because I believe in it, or because I'm afraid of disappointing someone? And if the answer is fear, fear of rejection, of conflict, of being labeled disloyal, then you're not protecting a secret, you're protecting your image. And that's not integrity, that's survival mode. There's a difference between privacy and secrecy. Privacy is protective. Secrecy, when forced, is corrosive. Socrates taught that an unexamined life is not worth living, so examine the role secrets are playing in your life. Are they anchoring you to truth or pulling you into deception? One of the hardest things to learn is that you're allowed to walk away from any conversation that compromises your clarity. You're allowed to interrupt and say, "Hey, if this involves someone else, I'm probably not the right person to hear it." You don't owe anyone your silence, especially not at the expense of your peace. And if you already heard the secret, and now you're caught in that moral gray zone, take a breath. You still have choices. You can seek advice. You can report it if it crosses an ethical line. You can refuse to spread it. What you don't have to do is carry it like it's yours. Aristotle said, "Character is revealed through action," and your actions, especially in these small, hidden moments, shape not just how others see you, but how you see yourself. If you fold every time pressure shows up disguised as friendship, you'll lose parts of yourself, one secret at a time. So here's a pro tip that will serve you for life. Before agreeing to keep any secret, ask yourself, does this align with my values, or is this just pressure wearing a friendly face? Because the people worth trusting won't trap you with secrets. They'll trust you with truth. And that truth, it should never feel like a prison. It should feel like clarity. Let that be your standard. Not convenience, not fear, clarity. Because once your values lead, manipulation loses its grip, and you step into something more powerful than secrecy. You step into sovereignty. 4. Who told you that? The deflection tactic. Who told you that? As a defense, they're not protecting themselves from a lie. They're protecting themselves from accountability. And this isn't just about romantic relationships. This shows up in workplaces, friendships, even families. Someone says or does something questionable, you bring it up. And instead of clarity, you get resistance, defensiveness, diversion. But remember what Socrates believed: the highest form of human excellence is to question oneself and others. The moment someone refuses to engage with truth is the moment they reveal what they fear. You see, if the person had nothing to hide, they wouldn't need to hunt for the source. They'd simply answer. But when someone's first instinct is to control how you found something out instead of facing what you found out, that's your signal. They care more about managing perception than maintaining integrity. Plato warned us against people who love power over truth. He said, "They deem him their worst enemy who tells them the truth." So when you encounter this tactic, it's not just a red flag, it's a statement that says, "I'm not here for truth, I'm here to win." And that's not someone you want leading the narrative of your reality. The key is not to get caught in the emotional net. Don't defend your right to know. Don't start naming names. Don't get dragged into side plots. Instead, stay centered. Stay factual. Respond with calm. The less reactive you are, the more obvious their avoidance becomes. This is where Stoicism isn't just theory, it's armor. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane." In a world where people are constantly spinning stories, deflecting responsibility, and manipulating truth, your job is to stay sane, to stay grounded, to stay true. So next time someone says, "Who told you that?" don't flinch, don't retreat. Gently, firmly say, "That's not the issue. Let's focus on what's actually going on." This simple sentence strips away the smokescreen. It recenters the conversation on facts, not drama. And if they refuse to meet you there, if they get louder, more evasive, more agitated, you've already got your answer. The truth they're running from is the one they don't want you to name, but you don't have to chase them. You just have to know and act accordingly. Because once you understand this tactic, you'll spot it everywhere, and instead of falling for it, you'll rise above it. Quietly, powerfully, stoically. 5. Don't you remember Gaslighting 101? There's a kind of manipulation that doesn't just distort the truth. It hijacks your memory. It doesn't scream. It whispers. It shows up with calm voices, steady eye contact, and an overwhelming sense of confidence. And before you even realize what's happening, you're second-guessing the very ground you're standing on. You start to feel the edges of your own mind blur, and the most unsettling part, you can't tell if you're overreacting or finally seeing things clearly. Let's talk about what's really going on here. It's not just lying. It's not just a denial. It's the slow, strategic process of gaslighting, the psychological manipulation where someone tries to convince you that your version of reality is wrong, exaggerated, or imagined. And if they're good at it, they won't just tell you that you're mistaken. They'll prove it with invented details, false confidence, and a tone so controlled it makes you feel unhinged for even asking. You might say, "I never agreed to that," and they'll calmly insist, "Yes, you did. We talked about it. You even said you liked the idea." And now your brain scrambles. You try to recall the moment they're describing, but nothing comes. Just blank space and rising doubt. You wonder, did I forget? Am I being too sensitive? Is this all in my head? That creeping uncertainty isn't your fault. It's the goal. Carl Jung said, "The ability to ask a question is the greatest evidence of human freedom." But gaslighting works by stripping you of that freedom, by making you too unsure to question what doesn't feel right. It traps you in a maze where the more you search for clarity, the more disoriented you become. Here's what's important to understand. Gaslighting is not about confusion, it's about control. It's about shifting the power dynamic so that you rely on them for the truth. They become the narrator of your own story, and with each small concession, each time you choose silence over resistance, they write another chapter without your input. The Stoics, who understood the power of the mind better than most, would call this a war for your reason. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the key. The battle is not about proving someone else wrong. It's about holding fast to what you know to be right. In a world where emotional manipulation is subtle and sophisticated, your best weapon is clarity, not defensiveness, not shouting, clarity. And that starts with keeping receipts, literally and figuratively. Write things down, keep a record, send that confirmation text, take a screenshot. Because when someone tries to rewrite the past, you need more than memory. You need evidence. It's not paranoia, it's protection. It's you reclaiming authority over your own experience. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality," and gaslighting thrives in that gap between what we remember and what we fear might be true. By grounding yourself in hard evidence, you close that gap. You take the fog out of the room. But clarity doesn't just come from facts. It also comes from courage. The courage to trust your gut when something feels off. The courage to not back down just because someone speaks with confidence. Socrates famously taught that the only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. But here's the flip side. The only true manipulation is making you believe you know nothing when, in fact, you do. Gaslighting is insidious because it targets your sense of self. It's not a disagreement over a detail, it's a challenge to your sanity. That's why it hits so hard. It doesn't just undermine your confidence in them, it erodes your trust in yourself. But here's what most manipulators never count on. Once you see it for what it is, you can't unsee it. Once you realize that their certainty is a mask, not a mirror, you start listening to yourself again. You stop asking, "What if they're right?" and start asking, "Why are they so afraid of being questioned?" Aristotle believed that knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. In the context of gaslighting, that means knowing the difference between humility and self-erasure. It's okay to admit you might be wrong, but it's not okay to hand someone else the keys to your reality just because they insist they're right. So what can you do, practically? Track patterns, document conversations, reflect on how you feel after interactions, tired, confused, ashamed. Those are signs, and when you start noticing them, don't brush them off. Lean into them. Ask yourself, is this relationship making me doubt myself more than it strengthens me? And if the answer is yes, it's time to take a step back, not in anger, but in wisdom. You don't have to burn bridges, you just have to build boundaries, strong ones, boundaries that protect your mind, your clarity, your peace. Because at the end of the day, your perception, your ability to understand what you saw, what you felt, what you remember, that's your compass. Don't let anyone take it from you. Hold it steady. Protect it with truth. Guard it with facts. And when someone tries to twist it with calm words and confident lies, return to yourself. You were there. You know what you said. You know what you didn't say. And if they can't honor that, that tells you everything. Keep your notes. Keep your center. Keep your power. Let them write their fiction. You stay grounded in your truth. That's what it means to live stoic. That's what it means to live free. You are not crazy for questioning the story. You are not difficult for needing clarity. And you are not alone in reclaiming your truth. The world may try to rewrite your reality, but your mind, your intuition, your self-trust, that's where your freedom lives. So if this spoke to something deep in you, there's another video waiting right here that dives even deeper. I think you'll find it just as eye-opening. Thank you for being part of Stoic Journal, a space where clarity, strength, and self-trust always come first. Stay grounded, stay sharp, and when you're ready, we'll be right here.